Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this Thursday's stream of The Missing. For those of you who don't know, every Thursday, we take a look at some of the cases that we've covered in our series, The Missing, which airs on Fox 26 News. We cover the stories of families whose loved ones who have vanished, who've never gotten any answers about what happened to them, where they are. And we make it our mission to make sure these families have a voice and to make sure we keep their loved ones' names alive. So in this edition of The Missing, we're talking about someone, this is a bit of a cold case. John Allen Giddens, he vanished when he was 18 years old. I am going to be joined by his family in just a second. But first, I want to go ahead and play you guys a little piece of the segment that we did on him so you have an idea of kind of the backstory here.
There are things in our lives that we will remember. And I remember he was shy. He blushed very easy.
Tammy Harmon says her nephew, John Allen Giddens, was 13 years old when he and his brothers came to live with her. She immediately got them involved in church and tried to raise them right. But she says when John was an adult, he moved in with a roommate, and she believes that he got involved with some bad people.
I believe that, and I believe that these people know what happened.
John vanished on June 4th, 2005. He was 20 years old. Tammy says the last time he was seen, he showed up to his job at Long John Silver in Cypress.
I actually got a call from his boss, who just absolutely adored him, and he was saying, "You need to come and talk to me. Something's wrong with John."
No, you guys just heard Tammy there speaking, Tammy Harmon, and I do have her with me today. Tammy, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this and for joining us. Let me take you off of mute really quickly. That's my fault. Tammy, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on today.
Of course. Watching that back, how are you feeling?
It's tough. It's tough. Makes it seem it's just everything comes flooding back.
Yeah. And John was your nephew. When he was younger, he had come to live with you. And that video clip ended at, you got a call from John's boss at Long John Silver, and his boss said, "Something's wrong with John, get here now." But by the time you guys got to Long John Silver, he was gone.
It was these memories are things that they never really diminish. It just seems like it was a nightmare. You feel so helpless. You feel like there's got to be something rational that we can do. There's got to be a way that we can find out what's happened with him. And it was a shock. It was a shock. And so for us, it was a time of trying to grasp what happened. You have to understand that John Allen was a very sweet, tender-hearted young man who, in the time that he moved in with us, I believe he was just barely had turned 13, and should have been a difficult pushing back hormonal teenager. John was always very sweet and very respectful and just really easy to love and easy to talk to, quite shy.
Yeah.
It just seemed like, how could something like this happen to
I mean, and the fact of the matter is, we say something like this happened to him, but we don't have any idea what happened to John.
But right.
And this has been how many years now? 18 years ago.
2005, I believe. I think that's when it was. Yes. You'd think you'd never. Yes. 2005. That's just seems like an eternity.
Yeah. Now, after he vanished from Long John Silver, he left there. You guys got there. By the time you got there, he was gone. When John's boss said something was wrong with him, what exactly did he mean?
John was acting frightened, disturbed, abnormal, because they always knew John as this easygoing, just an easygoing, laid back guy. And I will tell you, laid back was John. So when John showed up, it set off all kinds of alarms within his boss. He just knew something was wrong. He felt like he possibly could have even been under the influence. I mean, we had no idea why John was acting sort of frantic.
Something
Yes.
wasn't right. Fact of the matter, something wasn't right. And Tammy, his car was found not too long after he disappeared. Talk to me about that.
Well, his car was found up in Mississippi, and it was found in the middle of the road, as it was told to us, in the middle of the road, running with his wallet, his cell phone. There was a few, I think they said, like food wrappers and things in the car, but it wasn't located right away. They took it and put it in a storage lot. That's what they normally do when they find cars abandoned in the middle of the road. And I'm not exactly sure of all of the details, except for that some big storm had come through. And when they put it in the lot, they didn't roll up the windows or anything, I guess. I don't know what happened with that. But a storm had blown through, went up through Mississippi, and had, because they ran trace evidence, they looked for stuff all in the car, even in the trunk of the car.
So a storm rolled through, and what did what damage the car?
Well, it didn't damage the car, but it took away, with the water and the winds, it took away any possibility. They couldn't find any useful anything in the car or like
but just the fact that his car was found in Mississippi, which is 7 hours from Texas. At this point, do you believe that he drove himself there? I know we don't know, but I mean, do you believe he drove himself there? Do you believe someone else drove that car? What is your, I guess, theory?
Well, all it is a theory, but it's how my heart feels about this. Both my husband and I believe that car was driven there and abandoned there. We do not believe that John would have left his wallet. And even if he was driven there, he did not leave that stuff in that car by accident. So either the car was taken and they were trying to eliminate it for any evidence. I believe that John was a victim of foul play. My husband and I both believe that somehow he got himself into something, and that car definitely, that's what it shows me.
Right. And I have another video clip that I want to play, because Tammy, we talked about, when I sat down with you, about just how close John was with his siblings, and the fact that even if he did run off for a month or two, he would have come back. And it was a very compelling part of the interview for me that stood out. Just kind of your reasoning, or, kind of your take on what became of John, and very emotional part of this interview. I want everybody to take a look at this next clip.
Sure.
A lot of people think, move on. But to have nothing without a trace.
Tammy says John had 7 siblings, and he was extremely close with his brothers.
They live every day not knowing where their brother went. It just makes no sense at all that after 18 years that he would not have reached out.
Some family members believe John is still out there somewhere. But for Tammy, after so much time has passed, she's found it hard to have hope.
I don't believe that he is alive, but if he is, I want John to know that we will welcome him back with open arms.
To actually be able to say that probably took some time, to say, I don't believe he's alive. I'm sure that was the last resort, as a way of thinking for you.
I definitely believe that he was a victim of foul play due to some circumstances and things that I too much of, I, don't want to put names or things, but John loved his older brother Daniel, was very close with the other brother that lived with us, Wesley. He loved them very much. Oh, he had two younger brothers that I know he cared about, and two other siblings as well that did not come to live with us. And I know that John would have contacted his brothers. I know he would have, if he was in trouble, he would have trusted them with his life. And the fact that he's had no contact with his brothers, either one of them, the police has been in contact with them.
Yeah.
Sort of completes my theory that John succumbed to some type of foul play. Something happened to John Allen.
Tammy, has there been any progress, or have there been any leads? I know it's a cold case. I know it's a long shot, but since this story aired, has anyone reached out to you? Has the detective reached back out? Just kind of what came out of this story airing, if anything?
Well, I know for sure that we had a friend of ours that I believe I mentioned in the first interview, I'm not sure, who was a member of our church, and wonderful, wonderful man, very good private investigator. And he, to this day, still, as far as I know, runs John's information to see if anything has come up. The investigators on the case on the cold case, they have contacted us and kind of kept us on with, well, there's been nothing new. We really feel like that these people are genuine and they are really searching, but it's one of those without a trace situations, and that's what makes it so heartbreaking. How can
somebody just vanish? It's a
vanish.
Question. Yeah, it's a question that I ask myself a lot of times covering these stories and hoping that we could get some answers, knowing that, you have a loved one out there, something happened to them. I don't know what, I don't know when, I don't know where they are living with that. How do you live with that, I guess, is the question.
Well, I'm a believer in God, and I trust in my heart that I know that what's ever happened to John, that God knows, and that I have to choose to, of course, I would love for I'd love to be able to find him. I'd love to be able to think that he have hope that he was alive. But it's a day-to-day choice when you being somebody who I had to make a decision to just to move forward, never forgetting him, never forgetting the circumstances surrounding that day. Holding out hope for a long while as the police moved out. I believe they worked very hard. I believe they did. I believe they did the best that they could.
Do you think, let me ask you, Tammy, do you think that your family will ever get any answers?
I want to say this in honor of the people that have contacted us through the years of him being missing, that if we do not ever get any answers, it won't be for the lack of them working and trying. It will just be for that the people that were involved with this they obviously did a very thorough job of making him disappear.
If it's one thing I learned in this business, it's what's done in the dark always comes to the light, no matter if it's 20, 30, 40, sometimes even 50 years later. So my hope for your family is that one day those answers come. And I want to thank you for taking the time out to join us to do this. And just continue to keep his name out there. This is going to be, on our Facebook, our YouTube, our social media sites, our website. So it's a whole nother audience that it's going to reach. To everyone watching this, Tammy, do you have any final words, anything that you would just like them to hear from you?
I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right about him being deceased. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Somebody finds him, somebody sees him. If he by chance hears this broadcast, we love you. No matter what you've done, no matter what has happened, we will always welcome you back. And that's truly my heart. I want to be wrong about John. I don't want to be right. This is something you don't get over. And it would be wonderful to have peace, to know. But that's where my faith has to come, that we may not. And just know that God knows, and sometimes that just has to be enough. That has to be enough.
Tammy, thank you so much. What happened to John Allen Giddens? Do you have a tip? Do you have a clue? Do you have any information that maybe you thought was irrelevant? That could honestly be an answer or a tip for investigators. I want you to head over to fox26houston.com. I want you to go to the missing. There's a segment called the missing, or section for our missing segment. Go to John Allen's story, watch it in its entirety, and see if maybe you were in the area. Maybe you were at that Long John Silver back then. Maybe there's something that you forgot that you remember. Maybe you know someone who has mentioned it. You never know. Even the smallest tip can help bring this family closure. And also, while you're on that website, go ahead and take a look at the dozens of other people who are missing from the greater Houston area, the stories that we've covered. Scroll through the Texas Center for the Missing's website, where they list every missing person in the greater Houston area, and see if you recognize a face. See if you recognize a name, because you just never know how taking a second look at that might help a family, might bring them the closure that they need to move forward. I always say, if you can scroll through Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and like posts, then you can take some time and scroll through these missing person sections and see if you recognize anyone, and see if you can help bring a family closer to closure. It's important. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Tammy, thank you again so much for doing this with us. And our next edition of The Missing airs every other Monday. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, Gabby Hart News, to learn more about when those air and the stories that we'll be highlighting. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, Tammy.